I'm in a nice little hidden area of Sonoma, which is really, really cool. I'm here with Marla Bedrosian, and she, along with her husband, Geoff, are proprietors of Domaine de la Riviere.
Yes, thank you.
I am so proud. I'm going to go play the lottery now. Well, thank you for having me by today to this exquisite property. How long have you been at this property?
We purchased this property in 2011, and we put a house on it in 2013, and then we farmed for quite a few years from 2011 until 2017, and in 2017 we started making wine. And in answer to your question, I moved here full-time in 2021.
And you said you're from New York City.
I am, yes.
What brought you to California from New York?
Wine and the country. We used to vacation here frequently, and my background is I worked for an international hotel company in New York City, and that company provided me an incredible platform in which I could learn about wines all over the world.
Really?
Yes. And my husband and I found ourselves out here in Sonoma County and spending a lot of time here. And in 2010, we decided that we wanted to just buy a little farm that we could farm from New York and just hopefully have the great sales pay for our farming costs and maybe our mortgage and our taxes. And we found this little slice of heaven, and we've never been happier in the middle of the Russian River Valley, the prime location for making and growing Pinot Noir.
Are we actually in Windsor here, or no?
Yeah, so the way you drove into our property was Windsor.
Right.
However, right behind me is Healdsburg.
Oh, okay.
So, and there's another road that leads out, and that would be Healdsburg if my address was over there, but I'm on the Windsor side, so I am in Windsor.
How many acres do you have here?
We have 22 acres, 11 acres of planted Pinot Noir. We have 2 blocks. One of them is called our Red Barn block, and the other one is called our Heritage block. Heritage block has 3 acres, and our Red Barn block has 8 acres. We grow on our Heritage block Mount Eden and Swan clones, and in our Red Barn block we grow Swan, Pommard, and a clone that we call UV Vos Romanée. Most people would know it as a Vos Romanée clone,
Sure.
VR. We've renamed it to UV VR for the late, great Ulysses Valdez.
So you're very specific about your clones, as many winemakers are. But what brought you to those decisions, those specific clones?
So thank you for asking that question, because part of the story that I didn't tell you was that we found out in 2014, after we had purchased our property, that our entire vineyard had the virus red blotch. And for those of us out here in Sonoma and Napa, we know that there is no cure to red blotch. So you could limp your vineyard along and hold on to it. It doesn't affect the quality necessarily of the fruit. It just affects the photosynthesis process. So it takes the fruit longer to ripen. Or the other thing you can do is rip out the entire vineyard, which is what we decided to do. We ripped it out in 2 sections. Our Heritage block we ripped out in 2016, and the Red Barn block we ripped out in 2017. So what do you do when you rip out a whole vineyard? You decide to start making wine. And for the first few years of our little brand, which we make less than 1,200 cases of wine a year, we purchased fruit from 2 vineyards that are all in the Middle Reach neighborhood of the Russian River Valley. Star Ridge and El Diablo Vineyard. We are now, as of 2024, with our new vineyard, 100%. We're making 100% estate-grown Pinot Noir. We purchase all of our Chardonnay fruit also from 3 vineyards located in the Middle Reach of the Russian River Valley.
How challenging was that to be able to acquire this fruit? Because you have to kind of get to know, and you could certainly get to know people by visiting here, but there is a difference between living here.
So acquiring fruit in terms of acquiring fruit to make wine, it's hard.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And not only is it hard, but we did have one thing going for us, and that is that we had been farming and growing fruit from 2011 until, really 2015. And we had become involved in the community. We had met a lot of other vineyard management companies and a lot of other growers. And when you meet a lot of other growers and they like you, they know you're doing the right thing, and you approach them about using their fruit to make wine, it is a conversation that you have with them, especially the vineyards that we purchased wine from. They're all super high-end vineyards, and the conversation did take place, and they were wonderful. And Ulysses Valdez really was behind us getting our fruit at El Diablo, getting our fruit at Star Ridge, and also getting our Chardonnay from Flora Marie Vineyard. Our other Chardonnay that we were able to start our wine label with was from another great Kent Rosenblum, Lone Oak.
Sure.
And Kent is our next door neighbor, and it was because of him that we started to make our next door neighbor Chardonnay, and we named it for the Rosenblum family.
Oh, that's nice.
So in answer to your question, it would be hard if you didn't have those relationships already in place. We were fortunate in the fact that we did, and those relationships understood how important quality was to us, and therefore we had a perfect opportunity to purchase their fruit.
So how did you come up with the name Domaine La Riviere?
So that is a really good question, because it was so hard for us to find a name of our winery that the trademark gods, as I call them, would accept. And we went down the road a few times, and there were too many questions. And we knew that we are very much inspired by wines from Burgundy. And we also know that all of our clones that we grow here, and I talk a lot about clones, originated from Burgundy. And our winemaker, Cale Anderson, studied in Burgundy, and he has a French-style way of making wine. We're also making lower alcohol wines. So we started to play with the idea of coming up with something French and in honoring the clones in their heritage and where they were from. And I was working for Fairmont Hotels at the time, and I had a very good friend that worked at our hotel in Monte Carlo. He was French, and I was telling him just a little bit about what I was doing, and I was under the radar. Please don't tell anyone, because everyone's going to think that we're crazy. And I said, I need a name for our winery. And he said, okay, well, tell me a little bit about where you're located. I said, well, our vineyard is located right off of the Russian River. And he said, oh, you mean Domaine de la Riviere?
Oh, wow.
I said, well, what does that even mean? He said, vineyard on the river?
Yeah.
I said, whoa, that's way too good. No one's going to let me have that. And sure enough, it was nothing trademarked in the U.S., and it took 30 days, and here we are today.
How is that even possible it wasn't taken?
There were two Domaine de la Rivieres. There was one really nice RV park in Canada, in Charlevoix on the St. Lawrence River, and there was another one in Bordeaux, which was more of a castle, and it was more of an inn, and they had a vineyard. So it was fair game, and that's where we are today.
Who makes your wine? Who is your winemaker?
So our winemaker is Cale Anderson. Cale is a Napa guy. He actually was born in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County, went to college at Davis thinking he was going to be some type of a physician, and took a course on the biology in grapevines, and the rest is history. We were his first client. He was,
oh, really?
Yes. So he was working at Paul Meyer. We met Cale actually the second day we owned our vineyard here. Coincidentally, we were at a dinner in the middle of a vineyard. It was at Kick Ranch, owned by Dick Keenan at the time. And Cale and his wife were sitting near us, and he ended up getting into a conversation with our son Duff, who's also very much involved in our winery and in winemaking with Cale, and also vineyard management. And they just had a organic conversation about soccer. And
of course.
And Cale and our son Duff just really hit it off, and I loved his wife Ronco, and we just stayed friends with them. Every time we would come out and visit Sonoma County, they were always part of our trip, and it was at a barbecue sitting right where you and I are right now.
Oh, nice.
In 2015, when Cale said to Jeff, you guys should start making your own wine now. And we had talked about it briefly, but it was at that moment that Cale created this incredible story for us. And I'm someone who loves a story. And the story was that if we start making your wine in 2017, we can start making a rosé from your Red Barn block, because the fruit was good enough for rosé. And since we had replanted our heritage block in 2016, by 2018, our next vintage, the heritage block fruit would be good enough for rosé. And I loved the story that we would start our wine label with our original vineyard and then bridge the following year into our new estate grown Pinot Noir.
So when you and your husband, Geoff, started this endeavor, was there a point, once you get in, you kind of get to the point of no return, I guess you'd say, jumping in the deep end, did you think, maybe we bit off more than we can chew?
Well, I was a lifeguard in my past life. I love jumping in the deep end. But the answer is that there are times that with both the vineyard, finding out that we had a virus so early on, and with the winery, and our first release being in 2019 and COVID around the corner,
Okay.
where I would be known for saying, I feel like I'm swimming up the Russian River after 50 inches of rain. But, you pivot and you figure out ways to make it work. And the one thing that we always share with people is that don't bite off more than you can chew. Take baby steps. Learn as you're going along.
Sure.
Don't make that huge leap unless you really, really know what's under the hood. And so we feel that we did take our time. We bought this vineyard, truthfully, because we loved the country, we loved the farming of it, and we really thought that this would be our second home and where our kids could always be, this would be their happy place. We never bought the property, farmed it, thinking that we were going to turn this into making wine. Making wine happened at the time that it should have, at the moment where we felt that we could take that next step. And knowing that we had Cale Anderson along our side, and that we had these relationships with Kent Rosenblum and Ulysses Valdez, it made it like walking in the park. Every day wasn't a walk in the park, believe me, but surrounding yourself with the right people really made the journey much more enjoyable for us. And yes, we're a really small winery, but we believe in surrounding ourselves with the best people. And the best people are around us at our winery. We make our wine at Grand Cru. We have an awesome team around us, the hospitality team, the production team, and then I have a great fulfillment team. People might laugh when I say that. That fulfillment team is the team that gets my wine out the door into my customers. Sure. So, it's always really important. And I learned that from being in business for close to 30 years of my life, working in New York City. It's really important to have those people around you. You can't do it all yourself.
I'm going to make the assumption you do your tastings at Grand Cru. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Now, I'm assuming that's going to be by appointment. Is that fair?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So for our listeners who would like to learn about you online and possibly make an appointment to come taste your wines, what is your website?
www. You actually don't need those 3 W's anymore. I've learned from my kids. It's DomaineRiviere.com.
Marla, thank you very much for taking the time today on this incredibly beautiful day. I appreciate it, and I wish you guys, again, nothing but success.
Thank you so much, Ray. I really appreciate it.